Hello and welcome back to Travel Health Central. My name is Virginia and I'm a travel health pharmacist. My goal is to help you have a happy, healthy holiday. In this video, we're going to be looking at what you can do if you get bitten by an animal that might be carrying rabies. If you're not sure if an animal is carrying rabies, you should always assume that it does. This is because there's no way to tell if an animal is carrying rabies without taking it to a lab or sending it to a vet to test it for that rabies virus. So what should you do if you get bitten? Well, first of all, you need to wash the wound with soap and water. If you haven't got soap, then water will do just fine on its own. You need to make sure that you wash the wound for at least 15 minutes. This is to try and wash out as much of the rabies virus as possible. There are 3 types of wound that you can get from an animal. These types of wounds are graded into levels of exposure so we can make a decision on how to treat you. Essentially, what is your risk of actually getting rabies from how the animal has wounded you? These levels of exposure are put into 3 different categories. In category 1, your skin is not broken. This means there are no scratches and there are no open wounds. So if you feed an animal or you touch an animal or the animal licks you, in this category it means it's a very low level of exposure. In category 1, you wash the skin with soap and water for 15 minutes, as we've said before. This is for general hygiene and to prevent infection. An example of a category 1 exposure is you feeding an animal and not having any contact with the animal. A category 2 exposure is if an animal scratches you, but it doesn't make you bleed. In this case, you have to wash the wound as usual with soap and water for 15 minutes. You also have to get a course of rabies vaccines. This is so your body can develop antibodies against the rabies virus just in case you've got it from the animal. In category 3, this is when an animal nibbles or bites or scratches you or causes multiple wounds, and all of those things lead to you bleeding. In this category, you definitely have to wash all of the wounds, if there are more than one, with soap and water for at least 15 minutes. And most importantly, you then need to get a course of rabies vaccines. For a wound that is bleeding heavily, you need to get vaccinated as soon as possible. This is because there is a high possibility that the rabies virus has already got in through your blood. Some travellers might have got a course of rabies vaccines before they went on holiday or before they started travelling. These people will not need any recombinant immunoglobulin. But if you haven't had a course of pre-exposure rabies vaccines, this means that you will need recombinant immunoglobulin. Of course, you will need to seek professional medical help in order to decide what you need. So, in general, if you've had a category 3 exposure and you've had 3 vaccines of rabies vaccines before you started travelling, then you will need only 2 more rabies vaccines to prevent the rabies virus from killing you. If you haven't had any pre-exposure rabies vaccines, then you will definitely need to find a medical place where they can provide you with recombinant immunoglobulin. Recombinant immunoglobulin is basically a set of antibodies that have been taken from people who have fought off the rabies virus and been successful. Because this is extremely rare, it will be quite expensive, so make sure that you've got travel health insurance. It can be difficult to find, so don't be surprised if you have to go back home or you need to fly to another country in order to get recombinant immunoglobulin. Make sure to look up the nearest places where they have recombinant immunoglobulin. This is if you're trying to save money or you're on a budget and you can't get the pre-exposure vaccines before you travel. Recombinant immunoglobulin and the rabies vaccines are life-saving medicines, and you have to get them as soon as possible in order to increase your chances of survival. It's really important to note that recombinant immunoglobulin has to be given within 24 hours of the bite. It's always a good idea to map out where your nearest medical centres are, not just for rabies, but also for other medical emergencies that you might have while you're on holiday. It might also be a good idea to check out what animals carry the rabies virus in the area that you're going to. For example, in Southeast Asia, Africa and South America, it's more likely that you'll catch rabies from an animal such as a dog, whereas in North America, you're more likely to have a rabies exposure from an animal such as a skunk or raccoon.
Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and I'll see you next week.